Project 6 is about ethics. You're doing ethical analysis. Now, this project, for some people, it can be a little bit confusing at first because it's not the way that we've been talking about argument most of the semester. For the most of the semester, we've been talking about strategies, and we've been talking about how well evidence is supporting the arguments that we're coming up with. And we've been identifying the kinds of things that good writers do in order to make a solid case. What you're going to do now is ask yourself how ethical the case you've made really is. So basically, the work that we've been doing just very recently on analyzing the winners and the losers within an argument, and the ethical systems that drive people to make particular kinds of arguments versus other kinds of arguments. What that really ties into are those foundational claims that we talked about back with Claims and Reasons and Foundations and with Project 5. Remember, the foundations are often invisible. They're things that you can't necessarily see at first glance, that may not even make it directly into the written work of your argument, but that hopefully, if you're looking closely, you can identify in most writers' work, and hopefully you can also identify in your own work. So basically, think back to that foundations paragraph in Project 5. I'm asking you to take that and expand it in Project 6 and look at why you're making the argument you're making. What kinds of beliefs drive you? Similarly, and this is almost more important, maybe I don't want to say more important, but it's just as important as understanding your own ethical motivations, I want you to think about the ethical motivations of your opposition. It's very, very easy for us to think that only stupid people would disagree with us or only bad people would disagree with us, but you're all more sophisticated thinkers than that. Most people do what they think is right, or want to do what they think is right. Most people come up with solutions to problems that they think are the best solutions and the most ethical solutions, the right thing. The thing that makes a difference is how they decide what's right. How do you decide what's going to make what we think of as right and wrong true? Those are your ethics. What do you value? What is the basis for making that judgment? Okay, that's what I want you to analyze in Project 6. I want you to first lay out what your foundations are, and then lay out what the foundations for your opposition are. And then I want you to pay attention to, if you're successful, how winning, quote unquote, will affect the people who win and the people who lose. And it's very, very tempting to say no one loses in my platform. Well, that's not true. Somebody loses something. Loss can be a good thing too. Maybe they lose some anxiety. Maybe they lose some baggage from old thinking that's held them back. Maybe people lose a cost, as oxymoronic as that sounds. Think about what will change and think about why it's right for those things to change. Think about the things that motivate you and think about the things that motivate your opposition and show me why your motivations are better, are more ethical, are more right. So this is a project that's asking you to do a lot of thinking about yourself, a lot of, to some degree, speculating about the motivations behind your opposition. But if you consider this as kind of a part and parcel with Project 5, what I'm asking you to do is go beyond what's in the text itself and to entertain the idea that other people have just as healthy of motives as you do, but they don't have as good of an argument. Okay. If you have any questions as you're working through this project, please don't hesitate to email me. Remember, you'll get a chance to revise this draft. This may be the first time you've thought about it in the terms that we're using. But if you have any questions, please do email me. And as you're going through, as we did with Project 5, with peer review, you're going to be working with people who are familiar with your argument. You're going to be working with arguments you're familiar with. Hold one another accountable. Think about whether, not just whether the document is complete, but whether the writer has really engaged honestly with the questions in front of them. One last thing before we go, you will notice the second part of that handout, and this is explained in the assignment sheet. It's called Cui Bono, who benefits. Don't get too caught up in answering each one of those questions specifically in the project itself. Think about that in terms of being a heuristic like we've used before. Answer the questions and help you use those answers to compose your document. All right, if you have any questions, again, don't hesitate to email me, and I look forward to hearing from you.